Being is enough. In a quiet valley hidden among mist-covered mountains, there lived an old master named Daiki. His wooden cabin rested beside a gentle stream that whispered between the stones, surrounded by tall pines standing like guardians of silence. Each morning, Daiki would step barefoot into his garden, not to seek anything, not to achieve anything, but simply to be. He would sit upon a sun-warmed rock, close his eyes and breathe, nothing more. One day, a weary young man arrived in the valley. He had traveled far in search of answers, burdened by the weight of his dissatisfaction. Standing before the master, he said, "I've read books, followed many paths, learned countless techniques, but still I feel I am not enough. What am I missing?" Daiki looked at him with calm eyes, as if watching a leaf fall. He didn't reply right away. Instead, he pointed to the rock beside him and said, "Sit." The young man obeyed. Silence wrapped around them like a warm blanket. The stream kept speaking in its secret language, and the wind gently combed through the branches. "What does it feel like to be here?" the master asked. "I feel peace," the young man whispered. Daiki nodded and closed his eyes again. No more words were spoken, only the murmur of the water, the distant song of a bird, and the quiet presence of the moment. The young man slowly opened his eyes and looked at the master, still as a mountain, breathing as if the world needed no motion to continue being. "Is that all?" he asked, a bit puzzled by the lack of a lesson, a method, a concrete teaching. Daiki offered a faint smile, the kind that blooms from understanding how some seeds take time to flower. "Isn't it enough to be alive?" he murmured. "Isn't it a miracle to feel the sun on your skin, the water on your lips, the earth beneath your feet?" The young man didn't know what to say. He was used to striving, doing, proving his worth in every action. The simple act of being felt empty. "But master, shouldn't we aim to become something more? To achieve, to change, to improve?" Daiki gently caught a small leaf that had floated down beside him, holding it between his fingers. "Does this leaf need to be more than a leaf? Does the stream worry about flowing faster? Does the moon strive to shine more brightly?" The leaf, weightless, drifted back to the ground. The stream continued its song, untouched, and the breeze passed through, soft as if not to disturb the moment. The willow does not envy the pine. The fish does not long to fly. Each thing simply is, and in being, finds its rest. This time, the young man closed his eyes on his own, and for the first time in a long while, he felt no need to search for anything. The silence between them grew thick and kind, like a cloud cradling thoughts until they gently dissolved. The young man felt his chest, tightened by years of striving, begin to open, like a flower blooming under the rain. "So, there's really nothing I need to do?" he asked, still holding a trace of doubt. Daiki opened his eyes, shimmering like moonlight reflected on still water. "There are moments for doing, yes?" he replied softly. "But even then, what arises from being is enough. Doing to prove, to earn, to escape yourself, that's what drains you." The young man looked down at his hands, as if seeing them for the first time. How many times had they worked only out of fear? Not being seen, not being loved, not being something. "And if I stop doing, master? If I simply am who I am?" he asked, more as a whisper than a question. Daiki rose to his feet with the sacred slowness of trees growing without hurry. "Then the universe will breathe with you," he said. "For every time someone stops fighting themselves, the world becomes a little more peaceful." The young man lowered his gaze, and for a moment, a single tear fell, not out of sadness. It was as if something old and tight had finally loosened within him, an unnecessary cord that had at last let go. The sun began to slip behind the mountains, and the sky turned soft orange and sleepy blue. The air grew cooler, but not cold, more like a sigh that embraces. The young man and the master walked silently along the forest path. They didn't speak, there was no need. Each step on the soft earth was a wordless conversation between the soul and the present moment. "What if the world demands something different from me?" the young man asked, watching a deer in the distance drinking from the stream without fear. "Let the world demand what it wants," Daiki replied. "Just remember, you're not here to meet expectations. You're here to bloom as you are." The young man frowned slightly. "And what if I'm not enough for others?" The master paused, gently touching the bark of an old tree. "The cherry blossom does not worry if no one sees it. Still, it blooms." And in that moment, the young man understood that his worth was not in being useful, admired, or understood. His worth was like the passing wind, unseen yet essential. There was nothing to prove, nowhere to get to be, was already everything. That night, the young man slept on a mat beside the fire, inside the master's humble cabin. He didn't dream of victories or goals or distant futures. He dreamed of leaves floating on a stream, of the silence that sings among the trees, of his own breath simple and true. At dawn, the song of a bird woke him gently. He opened his eyes and felt no urgency. He didn't think about what he needed to do or who he was supposed to become. He simply breathed and smiled. Daiki was already outside, warming water in a clay teapot. When he saw the young man step out, he handed him a cup without a word. They drank quietly, sharing a space where words are unnecessary and being is enough. "Are we going to meditate today?" the young man asked with curiosity. The master shook his head gently. "Not today. Today we will simply live." And they walked without destination, listening to the sounds of the forest. Every snapping twig, every humming insect, every stone beneath their feet was part of the invisible teaching that life needs no decoration to be sacred. "I am not my past, nor my achievements, nor what others expect of me," the young man murmured, as if speaking to the wind. "You are," Daiki affirmed, "and that is enough." As the days passed, the young man stopped wondering whether he was doing the right thing. He woke with the sunlight on his face, tended the garden beside the master, walked barefoot across the damp earth, and every gesture, no matter how small, felt complete. He no longer searched for answers or enlightenment. He was simply present. One morning, while washing fruit in the stream, the young man glanced at his reflection in the water and softly said, "Before, when I looked at myself, it always felt like something was missing, but now it doesn't." Daiki smiled. "That's because now you see, not with the eyes of the mind, but with the eyes of the heart. And the heart doesn't measure or compare. It simply recognizes." The young man nodded, realizing that judgment had been his greatest prison. He had tried to become better, wiser, stronger, without seeing that he was already whole like the full moon, even when not fully visible. "Being is enough," he repeated quietly, like a gentle mantra. "I don't have to earn this moment. I just have to breathe it." And as he spoke those words, something within him settled, like a stone finding its perfect place at the bottom of the river. There was nothing to add, nothing to remove, only being. Time in the valley wasn't measured by clocks, but by blooming flowers, drifting clouds, and sunsets that surrendered without a fight. And so, without realizing it, the young man had become part of the landscape. His gaze no longer carried anxiety. His once tense body now breathed in rhythm with the gentle pace of life. One evening, sitting beside the master, they watched the sky begin to fill with stars. "Master," the young man said softly, "I think I have no more questions." Daiki nodded, unsurprised. "Then now you are ready to hear the answers that need no words." The wind whispered gently, as if to confirm it. In that moment, the young man understood. Silence was not a void to be filled, but a sacred space where everything is already whole. That he didn't need to strive to be more, because each moment was already perfect in its raw simplicity. "Thank you for teaching me without teaching," he said, full of quiet gratitude. Daiki looked at him with the depth of one who knows that nothing has been taught, only remembered. "I only helped you brush away the dust," he replied. "What you were seeking was already within you." And so, with a light heart and eyes gently wet, the young man looked up at the sky as if for the very first time. He didn't wish to fly. He didn't need more than what already was. Because finally he understood. Being is enough. That night, the young man lay beneath a blanket of stars, with the gentle murmur of the stream as his lullaby. The earth beneath him held him close, and the sky above seemed to watch over his sleep. No restless thoughts disturbed him. No desires pulled him away from the now. Only full silence and a peaceful presence. The master, sitting nearby, closed his eyes with a soft smile. He knew the young man no longer needed words or paths. He had found the rest that isn't found in distant places, but in the intimacy of oneself. The wind brushed the leaves, and in that gentle night sigh, the young man fell into a deep sleep. And in his dream, he was neither king nor wise man, neither hero nor beggar. He was simply himself, and that, in the great order of the universe, was more than enough.